He'll set the groove. Oh, manly Mark, the man with the spark. He's got the wisdom, he's got the heart. Pull up a chair, stay for a while. Manly Mark will make you smile. He's got tales that twist and turn, a world of wonders you'll soon learn. Big band swing with a gentle tone. In his company, you're never alone. The horns will croon, the rhythm will sway. Mark's got stories to brighten your day. A dash of charm, a pinch of wit. Manly Mark's podcast, this is it. Oh, Manly Mark, the man with the spark. He's got the wisdom, he's got the heart. Pull up a chair, stay for a while. Manly Mark will make you smile. Oh, Manly Mark, the man with the spark. He's got the wisdom, he's got the heart. Pull up a chair, stay for a while.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Oh, here I am. Good afternoon, everybody. And welcome. Just get rid of this extra chair floating out here. We don't need that, first and foremost. But welcome to another episode of Midday Madness with Manly Mark. As always, I'm your host, Manly Mark. And we got a pretty good show for you today. I'm excited. Hope you guys tuned in this morning to the Feast Me show with Manly Mark. We always have a good time with Fee. Me and Fee always have a good time going back and forth. We're always hooping and hollering. Like he says, two lime rhyming, nickel diamond. I always say two lime because lime sounds cooler than lime. But what do I know? Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. And I hope, like I said, I hope you caught our show this morning. And you're catching me now if you're tuned in. But catch the Night with Fee tonight at 9 p.m. Send in your questions at feastme.com. Scroll down to the bottom and fill out our email form, and you guys get your questions answered on Night with Fee. People love it. We're having a good time with that, and I know Fee really enjoys hearing from you guys. And so, yeah, guys, tune into all our content. Just as things are picking up a little more, we're going to be putting out more content. Going to get back into doing our regular podcasts like His Kingdom's Coming, Terminally Ill, Man in the Mirror. Those things are still coming. We hadn't forgot about them, so don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that. But we're excited about everything that's coming down the pipeline here at the Feast Me Network, and we hope you guys are too. And we hope you guys keep tuning in. And like I said earlier, I'm live on the TikTok over here, so if anyone's listening to TikTok, go over to YouTube on the Feast Me Network, and you'll catch me live in Uncle Pat's Pub. I'm over here just waiting on Jazzy J and T-Man like always, but what do they know? They're always missing out on a good time, but you guys aren't. And, for today, we got quite a few things to get into. It won't be, again, just a specific topic we're going to get into, but I wanted to touch on a few things that I saw in the news. I saw specifically there's a shooting happening in Minnesota at, I can't even remember, it's like a Catholic school, I think. A bunch of children shot, so that's not cool. And I think I'd seen a post, maybe they had already shot the shooter, but I don't know anything official, but we're thinking and praying about that situation. How pitiful is it to attack children? Just pitiful. I mean, truly demonic. But, I mean, that's the world we're living in. And I talk about this a lot with Fee, how desensitized we are to such things. It's just because you see them on the news every day. And that's by design. I don't think humans were designed to see this amount of death and destruction and turmoil. But because we live in a 24-hour news cycle world, that's just what we get. And again, I think it's by design, mass and group trauma. But, what can you expect whenever the people who pull the strings literally worship the devil? So like I said, if you guys are tuning in on the TikTok, go over to YouTube and find us on the Feast Me Network or feastme.com. I'm live in Uncle Pat's Pub. Terry had cold coffee again today, but that's just, what can you expect? Terry's just not on his game, but we all have those days. Okay, well, first and foremost, I want to get into, I'm always talking about the aliens. I'm always talking about these aliens, right? And how they're going to lie to us, how I think they're demonic. And there's this talk, I just see it all over social media, And I even see just aliens and UFO talk in the news specifically. But I saw this supposedly leaked memo from NASA, and I wanted to read it to you about this object. I'll read it, but called Atlas something. But let me pull it up. I'm going to zoom in with it because, old Manly Mark, he just don't got the good eyeballs no more. But I'm also wearing one of my wife's contacts and one of my neighbor's contacts, so that probably doesn't help either. Okay, yes. Ooh, Deep Signal 188, verified insider. Okay, urgent leaked NASA memo on Atlas posted on dark web, allegedly. OP is not wrong. Original poster. Object is not natural. We call it Class 7. Instructions were given to keep narrative contained. Public cannot know. Check DNS anomaly report. Transmission number 411C, before it disappears, 17 days after major orbital deviation. Don't ask how I know, this account will be gone soon. Check the skies yourself. Its acceleration has been logged by amateur astronomers. NASA scrubbed 2 live feeds last week. Why? Because it made a course correction on camera. Natural bodies don't do that. NASA, internal, 4 eyes only, date 25/08/02, so August the 2nd of this year. Subject C 2019 Y4 Atlas. Anomalous behavior and classification update. Do not distribute. Level 5 clearance required. So this is supposedly the email. The object previously designated as Comet Atlas exhibits accelerative properties inconsistent with Newtonian predictions. Preliminary analysis indicates non-gravitational influences of unknown origin. Surface scans, let me click on it again. Surface scans, where am I at? Yeah, surface scans suggest highly reflective composite material. Spectral anomalies recorded. Okay, spectral anomalies recorded. What does that mean? Action items. Suspend all public discussion of Object C 2019 Y4 outside of scripted narrative. Redirect external communications to standard comment disintegration protocol. Neutralize unauthorized dissemination on digital platforms. See OpSpec Directive 12.4. Confidential. Object appears to be under active vector. I can't see the word. Maintain operational silence. Further intelligence pending. OSN and NORAD intercept. End of memo. Okay, that's spooky. So, like I said, the guys on TikTok, you guys aren't seeing the graphics pull up. It's because you're just seeing behind the scenes studio. So go over to YouTube or X or our website, feastme.com, and you'll see me literally live in Uncle Pat's Pub. It's a place to go for lunch, especially if you want to listen to Manly Mark. That's me. So we have this supposed leaked memo from NASA. Okay, what's it mean? They're trying to put a lid on the idea that it's a craft. Well, they want us to believe it's a craft, naturally, because I think that's a lie. They want us to believe that this is a craft coming from deep, 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 dark outer space, from unknown regions, unperceivable to humanity due to the sheer number of miles and light years away. It's, okay. But so they're trying to shut a lid on that, but I think that in and of itself is a lie, because they do want disclosure on these types of things, but they want to control their narrative, and I think the narrative they're putting forth is that this is a craft, but it's that in of itself is a lie, used to push a broader narrative. And so here's another video of this guy predicting it 6 months ago and getting more into it, and specifically trying to raise the alarms on it and get people panicking about it. So listen to this.
The Adam Hibbert and Adam Crowell, where we said the orbit, the trajectory of this object appears to be quite remarkable. It arrives within 5 degrees of the orbital plane of around the Sun. And the chance of that happening randomly is 0.2%. And moreover, it will arrive closest to the Sun when the Earth is on the opposite side of the Sun. And moreover, if you just play with the arrival time randomly, you would notice that only 1 out of 20,000 arrival times would come as close to the inner planets like Jupiter, Mars, or Venus. So that is an unusual coincidence. And why would such a trajectory be so unusual? Well, one possibility is if it was designed by some intelligent civilization, it also comes towards us from the direction of the galactic center, from the Milky Way center, where there are lots of stars and it's very difficult to notice it. That's why we discovered it so late. By now, it's impossible for us to launch a rocket that will intercept with it because it would move relative to Earth. It comes in the opposite direction.
Okay, so they're blowing the whistle, talking about how spooky this thing is, and how they're thinking it's quite literally a craft from the stars, a civilization from the inner galactic core. Ooh, and how we're gonna have to unite under a one world banner, a one world government. You'll own nothing and be happy. It's if they can't get you to own nothing and be happy under the threat of climate change, they're going to use the threat of alien invasion. Ooh, but they're demons. They're demons of the devil. You know, you hear all the stories about people's grandmas and grandpas and great grandmas calling everything the demonic and the devil. And the older I get, the more I realize it's true. They were right. They were right to call dancing the devil. You know? I mean, look how these folks dance now. Literally demonic. Anyways, the point I'm making is you can't trust them. You can't trust these folks. And these guys, the same folks who are sitting here saying, ooh, these aliens are coming, are the people who are saying, oh, climate change. And so this next video I'm going to show you kind of gets more into that guy specifically and how you can't trust the narrative that they're going to push upon you with these kinds of things that are in the news. So take a listen to this, folks.
Yeah, and the thing is, don't trust them on Free Eye Atlas either.
What's that again?
Nonsense. The space threat of coming on in. Avi Loeb is saying,
That's the next. Oh yeah, Avi.
that's like
Israeli
a Muamua,
tech
man. It's
fucking
coming.
intel guy.
Yeah, Avi has been on our show, which is hilarious.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We're starting up again. We'd love to have both of you. Kurt's coming on, but
Excellent.
yeah,
Avi is like next door to me. His physics lab is right here.
Oh, is he? Interesting guy. Totally
yeah.
nice guy. Totally friendly interactions with him, but there definitely does seem to be
A lot of intel people are nice guys, and I don't hold it against.
He's
them.
out of
They do.
Talpiot. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
He's what?
he's directly out of Talpiot, which is basically the military intelligence out of Israel for a decade.
Oh yeah.
Israel DARPA.
Yeah.
Oy.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he came over here in 1983 to work on Star Wars. That's incredible. Can you imagine the knowledge this guy has?
Maybe they'll help with our Golden Dome prison that they're going to make for us.
Exactly. Let's get the UFO defense grid up.
What do
Come on,
you
sooner the
think?
better.
All right, if you guys all right, elevator pitch. What is actually happening right now? What would you fucking say?
They're losing control of the thing. That's what's happening. So you see a lot of panic moves. Things aren't going. I don't know why. I'm all about it though. I love it. I hope it falls apart further, especially.
Well, I mean, so the guy that they were talking about being involved in Israeli military intelligence is the guy who's now coming out and saying, oh, this object that we're detecting in the skies and deep space that's heading our way is an alien threat, and we need to be careful about it. Woo-hoo. So that should just tell you, okay, this guy's involved in Israeli intelligence. That should tell you something. This guy's telling you, oh, this is an object. It might be a threat from an advanced civilization. Okay, that should tell you something. They want to control the narrative on these things, and they want to give you the illusion that it's a threat, or even if it's peaceful visitors from somewhere in the stars, they're interdimensional demons. And as I talk about often and showed, there's literally a company that's been documenting Skywatcher. Just type them in. I should have brought the videos up again just to show you guys. But Skywatcher essentially had this technology, or has this, where they claimed to summon with some sort of frequency, they almost like a whistle, dog whistle, to summon these UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, or these UFOs, as most people know them by, and would have several videos of these things zipping by. They have several sketches and different classifications of different types and shapes and sizes of these crafts. And so recently they're in the news because the guy who was providing the technology to do this has pulled his technology and equipment because he's going to start working with the Defense Department, which is now, I guess, the Department of War. Woo! Which sounds cooler, I guess. But it's just very interesting that all this stuff's going on. Skywatcher has been documenting it this whole time to the public. You can go look and see it for yourself. Go to Skywatcher X account or their YouTube page where you can literally see this stuff. And so you got all that going on. But what's interesting, like I said, is that they quite literally pulled the technology that this company was using to start using it for the government. Ooh, what's that tell you? Again, they were using frequencies and almost like a dog whistle to summon these things to again point out that these things are interdimensional, probably demonic in nature. That's what I believe. You heard it first at the Feast Me Network here. Maybe not for the first time, but mainly Mark thinks that aliens and the way they portray them is a lie, and they're demonic, spiritual beings in nature. And they're going to get, this next video I'm going to show you kind of gets into the frequency aspect, and I think it specifically talks about the Skywatcher company. So just take a listen to this.
Intuition from the psionic assets is really the wind in the sails of what's going on there. And the dog whistle is more just like just like a direct form of a contact or communication that's tangible. And it also, I personally think it also helps gel the consciousness of the team together. When you actually turn a device on like that, it sort of inadvertently has an effect on the team where you suddenly expect a result, or if there's anybody doubting what's going to happen, that kind of could go away, and then the results show up, so I think there's layers of reasons why it works.
It kind of sounds like what you're saying there is almost that like the dog whistle in itself kind of creates not necessarily a placebo effect, but like it kind of influences the belief of the team. And is that what you're kind of getting at? That like once the team have this like perhaps placebo effect of belief, that like that belief creates the manifestation?
I think personally, I believe that it cultures the right atmosphere and environment on levels we might not even understand, almost cymatic vibrational levels of the brain and things that, has an open effect.
So you're saying that this dog whistle, because I guess when it's spoken about to us, we literally, I think most of us think of it like an actual dog whistle, like you play the sound and it makes the thing react. But what you're saying is that this frequency actually affects the human mind as well, and you think the effect that it's having on the human mind, that has an effect on the summoning or manifestation.
And again, I don't think that what's in the UAP or the UFO that hears the dog whistle is like some antenna or piece of technology that picks up on the signal. Again, I believe it's an amplification effect even for the consciousness of the UFO, or the UAP, or the occupants.
So that is so different, right? Yeah, that's interesting because that's so different. Because I think it's a lot of people thought it's what Josh is saying, and I'm not saying you're saying
it's too mechanical. I get it. You think of like you're going to blow a whistle, just like your bird calling, and then something up there with an eardrum is going to hear you. But we're talking about telepathy and tools to amplify telepathy. So now we've got like techno shamans or psionics instead of using these ancient shamanistic methods. We've got technology, and it's like a gun on a truck. It sounds weird, but that's just
exactly
where we're
what
at.
the gateway tapes are.
Yeah.
So you think it's the gateway tapes? It's frequencies in the mind that help you project your consciousness. It's like the same thing.
Pointed directionally right at an event that's predicted, but again, the driver of all this.
You heard it here first, folks. Techno shamans. Whoa. That's an interesting concept, and I really wasn't expecting him to take it that direction. But I have heard, I've heard a lot of talk about specifically that thing, which I think lends to the idea that these things are in fact interdimensional and spiritual in a sense, in that there's talks of like some professor out of Arizona or California somewhere in there who takes classes, he's a professor, takes his classes or some of his students out to the desert and will have the class and himself think about, manifesting one of these crafts. And sure enough, there's been time after time people go out there and see, it actually worked. And so the idea that what they're doing at Skywatcher is actually just amplifying the frequency that the humans put off that attract these things is very interesting. But I kind of think that's kind of true because I think these things are spiritual. And again, I think they're demons. Aliens, as we know them, are demons, demonic. But that's very interesting. But it lends to the idea that they want to control the narrative. They want you to be scared and afraid. Now, if they are actually summoning demons, that is terrifying. But the idea that it's a threat from space and that to scare you, it's manipulation. And they're manipulating us to steal our religion. They're manipulating us to steal our safety and security, our faith. And as I was talking about yesterday with the whole culture war thing, with the Cracker Barrel stuff, thankfully Cracker Barrel's coming out, and I think they're getting the message. Thank the Lord now. But they're even trying to steal our culture from us. And so here's a clip on Joe Rogan's talking specifically about Sharia law. Ooh, Sharia law in America. And so, it's not happening yet in a, statewide. I think it's happening community-wide, but that's a different story. But just listen to how they're stealing our culture, and they're going to do it with Sharia law and the possibility of it happening in America.
Worst case scenario is a state adopts Sharia law. This is worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And I think all these people that would cry against the concept of Islamophobia really need to understand what that means and what you're talking about. And to say that that's an outrageous and ridiculous idea that's never going to take place, it's kind of already worked its way into some societies.
It has.
It has.
It has.
And there are, is it Minnesota that has call to prayer?
There is a place in Minnesota, I believe, where they have prayer calls as a matter of local government. I do think that's happening.
That starts getting real weird.
Yeah. Well,
Stuff like that starts getting real weird. And when you have people that are openly saying our goal is, and they've talked about this in Toronto, like activists have said, our goal is to outbreed everyone who is not Muslim and vote it out and put Sharia law in place.
What would happen to a gay couple in Gaza?
Executed according to Islamic law. Islam doesn't endorse gayism. Islam doesn't endorse homosexuality.
Okay, so would you like to see Sharia law in Canada replace Canadian law?
At some point it will. Because we have families, we are making babies. You're not. Your population is going down the slump, right? By 2060, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over. What are you going to do then? We owe our allegiance and our loyalty first and foremost to our religion, not to the Queen, to be honest. When I went for my so-called oath, I was silent, I didn't say anything. It was your responsibility to make sure you got it out of me. So when I didn't say anything, I'm not liable to any. Just like you had a Western majority nation in a land of Native Americans, one day we can have a Muslim majority nation here in Canada, right in your face.
That's very scary.
Women have to wear burqas. This is how it works.
Yeah. Real religious tyranny is increasingly in Western societies where you've had a large influx of immigrants who don't necessarily assimilate into Western values, but try to create, I think, a religious tyranny at the local level. And if you think that won't happen at a national level, you're crazy.
See, folks, isn't that spooky? That's, you see that stuff, and that's happening in Canada and more so in Europe currently. But that the whole design is like I talked about with UN Agenda 2030 or the UN migration, the whole climate migrants, the whole migration of the third world into the first world is specifically to bring about these types of things. Let me say this, Jerry. Hello, Jerry, my brother. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're digging what I'm talking about. I'm not getting too conspiracy today. Well, I say that. The alien stuff, while it is conspiratorial, it's definitely coming down the pipeline. So, Jerry, thank you for tuning in. And as always, we love to hear from you, brother. So thank you for tuning in, man. As always, just love our loyal loyal listeners. And if folks, if you're still listening over there on the TikTok, as I've been saying, go over to YouTube. You'll find me on the Feast Me Network on YouTube or at feastme.com. So go over there and you'll see the live show instead of me in the back in the studio. But folks, yeah, they want to bring the third world into the first world through these lies, whether that be the alien lie, the climate change lie, the UN Agenda 2030, to bring about in several decades, if we last that long, Sharia law in America. And now the people at the top are not Muslim. The people pulling the string are trying to rebuild the third temple and take a whole portion of a lot of countries. But they view themselves as being able to easily pull the strings of the Islamic world or the Western world. And so again, I just think you see the attack on our culture and the attack on our beliefs and the way we view reality. But that stuff is happening in the background. And I'm going to shift gears a little bit now to play a few videos of Trump and RFK Jr., who's doing a phenomenal job talking to Trump specifically about a few different topics. And so I'm going to need my keyboard so I can actually turn up the volume on one of these things. But he gets into, because RFK is big on American health. He's big on making sure we have a healthy country that's healthy through exercise, through nutrition. And so say what you will about his political career as a Democrat or being a Kennedy, but he's doing a phenomenal job at the position that Trump's put him in. And I'm happy he's there because it not only bolsters me and my own opinions and how I go about the health of my family and children, but it lends credence to what I say to people. When it's like, okay, for example, my wife. Well, hey, look what RFK Jr. is saying about these vaccines. Maybe I'm not so crazy. I mean, that's a very personal and just first level example. But the fact that people in these kinds of positions are asking these kinds of questions should tell you a lot about what's actually going on. So listen to RFK talk to Trump about the vaccines. And if I restart the video, just because the volume wasn't good. So here you go, guys.
Bobby, autism, if I could just, I don't want to go too long because we have a lot of people, but the autism is such a tremendous horror show, what's happening in our country. Bobby, autism, if I could just, I don't want to go too long because we have a lot of people, but the autism is such a tremendous horror show, what's happening in our country and some other countries, but mostly our country. How are you doing on that?
We are doing very well. We will have announcements as promised in September. We're finding certain interventions now that are clearly, almost certainly causing autism. And we're going to be able to address those in September.
It's such a big day. I'm looking forward to that day because there's something wrong when you see the kind of numbers that you have today versus 20 years ago. And those numbers, what are those numbers, Bob?
In 1970, the biggest epidemiological study in history was done in Wisconsin. They looked at 900,000 children, and they were looking for autism. They knew what it looked like, and they were very, very precise about it, and they found an incident rate of 0.7, in other words, less than 1 per every 10,000 children. Today, our most recent numbers are 1 in every 31 kids. It's probably actually much worse than that because California, which has the best collection system, is reporting 1 out of every 19 children, now American children, as autism, 1 in every 12.5 boys. So it's gone from less than 1 in 10,000 in 1970 to 1 in 12.5 boys.
Look at those numbers. So there has to be something artificially causing this, meaning a drug or something. And I know you're looking very strongly at different things, and I hope you can come out with that as soon as possible.
We will.
So 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 31 or 34 or 12 if it's a boy. Can you imagine that? 1 in 12. That's for a boy.
1 out of every 12.5 boys.
It's not even believable that could be. And that was 1 in 10,000 not so long ago. I've been hearing these numbers, and they get worse and worse every year. There's got to be something. I think there's nothing, including favored nations and everything else, there's nothing that can be, if you can find out the reason that that's happening, and I know we're gonna do some things. I think it's, I think we maybe know the reason, and I look forward to that press conference, to be with you in that press conference. That's going to be a great thing. Thank you, Bob. You're doing.
Ooh, man. So in September, they're coming out with some big news about what they think's causing all of this autism. And I might get fact-checked on the YouTube or the TikTok or the Instagram or wherever I'm at, but it's like, whoa, that's RFK Jr. himself and Donald Trump themselves. And people are going to call them quacks, I guess, or conspiracy theorists. But it's like, you heard Trump say, I think we know what's going on. Yeah, these vaccines, shoving drugs into babies is not a good idea. The good Lord gave us a natural immune system for a reason. So, I mean, I am very much looking forward to seeing what he says. And then going back to my pediatrician to see if he tries to shove a vaccine pamphlet down my throat. You know, and it's like, come on. And so RFK Jr. is doing a really, really good job. And he goes on in that meeting to talk about another thing that's happening, which this is under the surface that not a lot of people are paying attention to. But I think it's very important because it it ties into the UN Agenda 2030 and in a more broad sense, just this surveillance state that they're ushering us into inch by inch. And so listen to this and then we'll comment on it.
Similarly, we've made another historic agreement with personal health records. The 60 biggest tech companies in our country have all agreed to allow Americans for the first time access to their personal data, which they own, which these companies have been monetizing without permission. You're going to be able to see by next year all of your health records on your cell phone. It's going to save lives. It is going to fuel an infusion of technology into that space where people can access those records. They can compare their diet to what they personally need, and we'll have personalized medicine.
Well, see, that sounds great, personalized medicine, but the point I was making was, like he said, these companies have had access and have monetized your data for years. And so it looks like RFK Jr. is even trying to give access to you, the American people, your health data, which I think that's great. And so Republican, Democrat, I don't care what he is. He could be a communist for all I care. RFK Jr. is doing a great job. And I'm going to just keep saying this often. If you guys are tuning in from TikTok, head on over to YouTube, find me live on the Feast Me Network page, or go to X, Feast Me Network page, or Feast Me, or go to our website, feastme.com, and you'll find me live there. But anyways, so it's good. It's great that RFK Jr. is in the position he's in, and I think if he keeps doing what he's doing, then things are going to get a lot better than they have been. And not only that, but I think he's exposing a lot of the corruption that's been in these organizations like the FDA or the CDC for years. I mean, Fauci. The fact that Fauci needed a pardon, a preemptive pardon, when Joe Biden left office, what does that tell you about the activities and what he was doing during COVID that would necessitate him having a preemptive pardon? Come on, folks. It's not that deep. It's that obvious and on the surface. I mean, come on. And in the way that they made Fauci a national hero, isn't that just pitiful? But anyways, that's not what we're getting into. Moving on, you got a lot of this stuff happening in the West Bank. You've got Israel bombing hospitals, and then apologizing for it. But even though you have the IDF coming out and saying we had a directive to do it. That's not cool. But now it seems like you're having Putin get involved. And so this is a very interesting development in this video I'm about to show you. Is apparently Putin coming out and issuing a warning and commenting on Israel recent strikes on the hospital. So listen to this.
Today the world witnesses yet another crime. 4 journalists among 15 innocent souls murdered in a strike on a hospital in Gaza. A hospital where people sought safety became a graveyard. And Israel thinks it can hide behind excuses, but no excuse can wash away blood spilled on the beds of the wounded. I give this warning clearly: Russia does not forget. Those who target journalists Those who bomb hospitals are writing their own history of shame. The world sees. Israel must decide. Does it want to live as part of humanity, or as an outcast that even its allies will one day abandon? We will not stay silent while war crimes are justified as defense. Do you think the cries of mothers will vanish into the air? No. They echo across the globe, louder than your bombs. You silence journalists, but their words will live longer than your rockets. You destroy hospitals, but you cannot destroy the truth. And let me tell you, the patience of nations has limits, and once broken, consequences are inevitable. So take this as a warning. The world is watching, and Russia will not forget who turned Gaza's hospitals into cemeteries. Remember, justice may be slow, but it never sleeps.
You know, that came from TikTok, and you know, it most certainly came from anti-Israel sources. You know, you're just going to have that. But I mean, it's just the broader idea that the world's waking up to what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in the Middle East, and specifically like the West Bank, and they're not too happy about it. And so, you know, you've got a majority of Americans and a lot of people in the West who believe it's their duty, per their religion, to support the nation state of Israel, who turn a blind eye or even support these things. And then you have half the world who are going to turn against Israel and not going to stand by while they do what half the world labels as a genocide or something like that. So it's just very interesting. And I found this interview of people talking about Putin and specifically him getting involved in, in the Middle East and whether or not he might, or what might be the broader outcome if he does. And so just an interesting thing to think about. So guys, check this out.
Listen, Raf, there's a long list of people that we should be asking that of. Putin and Lavrov are quite far down the list. Let me deal with some of the points that you have made. Some of them are very easily dealt with. Does the Russian government support what Israel is doing? Absolutely not. They make daily pronouncements that condemn utterly the massacre, the genocide in Gaza. I quoted Putin in my monologue that he was attacking these Western governments that are trying to throw sand in our eyes about a future recognition of a non-existing state of Palestine. As he said, by the time they get round to doing that, Palestine will no longer exist. So that was Putin that said that. But the idea that Putin is the man that could stop the war in an hour is somewhat misplaced, coming from somebody in the United States of America. It might well be that the reason Russia and China are not militarily invading Gaza to exercise their right to protect the vulnerable 2 million people there being massacred is because it would ineluctably mean World War III against the United States of America. And maybe, just maybe, Putin's got his hands full fighting NATO in Ukraine and doesn't fancy a new fight with NATO.
So is Putin going to save the world? Ha ha! Probably not. Probably not. But I guess there are people suggesting that Putin could stop the war in Gaza in an hour. And to his broader point, like he said, yeah, if China or Russia got involved in Gaza or the Middle East, that probably would start. Well, knowing how people are in America about Israel, it definitely would start World War III. And so I just thought that was an interesting piece, an interesting thing to think about, because while you see countries like China and Russia who are vocal about what's going on in Israel, and all these countries who are vocal about a two-state solution in Palestine, they're not going to get their hands dirty, because it would mean a broader war. It'd mean a bad time for everybody. But if it gets to that point, then we're going to see a lot of bad things unfold. So I just wanted to hit on that. There's always news coming out of the Middle East. There's always news coming out of Russia. But whenever you can combine the two, that's when stuff gets interesting, because it typically means like, oh, end time stuff. And so we'll move on from that, and I just got 2 more videos to show you, but this just kind of ties back into how they, you could talk, tie this into the alien thing. They're going to lie to us about this alien stuff. A lot of these wars wherein they lie to us about. And it to them, it's all business. The whole climate change is business. So this next video is just a World Economic Forum guy essentially describing the truth about what it's all about.
Anybody who's listening to this podcast should just continue to believe and understand that climate change is real. The consequences are significant and very negative. But there are technology-based solutions out there that, if implemented at scale, can be economically rewarding and, of course, very beneficial from a climate change standpoint. So, if anything, this is a massive, massive business opportunity for anybody who wants to get into the sector, and for companies that choose to change their own pathway going forward. This can.
Don't you see, folks? This is a wonderful business opportunity. Climate change, that sector, for technology, for media, for lies. Ooh. So, like that guy said, World Economic Forum, you see, all over the place, heavily involved and influenced by the UN Agenda 2030. But they want you to own nothing and be happy. But it's a good business opportunity for those who are smart enough to see it for what it is. A business opportunity to lie and misguide the foolish public. I mean, that's all it is. And, in America specifically, you don't see the effects of these ideas and agendas trickle down quite as fast because, we have people like Donald Trump. But you see them all over the place in Europe. And this last video that I'm going to play to close out with is a guy named James O'Keefe. And if anyone knows James O'Keefe, he was heavily involved in an organization called Project Veritas, where anytime you'd see on the news during COVID specifically, but a politician coming out and essentially telling the truth about what's really going on, it's because the Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, had an undercover journalist going on dates with these people who would then just spill the beans. So if anyone doesn't know Project Veritas or James O'Keefe, look into them. Now, Project Veritas is no longer associated with James O'Keefe, and James O'Keefe has his own stuff. But this video is from James O'Keefe in Canada about a hiking ban and how they're imposing bans on people in Canada from going hiking, and it's all tied directly to this World Economic Forum, clean net zero initiatives, this UN Agenda 2030, sustainability. They want you own nothing and you'll be happy, you won't go anywhere. Nature will be off limits. I mean, they're attacking our culture. I showed you guys that yesterday with the Cracker Barrel stuff. But here's just this video about James O'Keefe experiencing a hiking ban that they've imposed upon people in Canada.
This is James O'Keefe with OMG, and this is walking into the Canada woods on purpose for a $25,000 fine. There it is right there. Stay out of the woods. $25,000 fine. Oh, there's a DSLR worker. There's a worker right there. What happens if we go in there? $3,000 fine. We don't have anything to start a fire, though. Doesn't matter. You want to break the law. So here in Nova Scotia, they've actually banned hiking due to a burn ban. They're going to fine you $25,000 for going hiking in Canada. Let's see what happens. There's also a bunch of Karens walking along the boardwalk. A lot of snitches. Snitches get stitches.
I saw these 2 gentlemen. They're gone in the woods. They have backpacks. Okay, I'll send the officers over here shortly. Thanks for calling. All right, thank you.
Okay, Bretton Regional Police. It's a wrap.
So we've arrived in Nova Scotia, Canada, and we're driving down the highway, and it says stay out of the woods, and then it says it's a burn ban, $25,000 fine. If you go into the woods, we are going into the woods. So the man, Jeff, actually did this, and I thought about doing this, but then I saw Jeff's story, and I figured, hey, I should do that.
We issued $25,000 fines for going into the woods.
I'm just going to make this as painless as I can for those guys.
And the fine is $28,872.50.
We'll see whether the local authorities enforce this absurd law, which is a violation of human rights and human dignity. We have no fire starters on us. Nothing can start a fire. I do have my trekking poles, my backpacks, and my hidden cameras, unless they arrest me, which we're in Canada, so it's certainly possible. But we're here in the woods. It's a very overcast day. It's going to rain. So the question is, are they going to give us a $25,000 ticket while it's raining? Okay, so we've been in the woods for about 5 minutes, and there's a good chance that someone's going to snitch on us. No, there's actually a snitch line where Canadians rat on other Canadians if they see hikers. Apparently, somebody snitched on us.
I just have a little concern. Is this the number that you call if people are like hiking or like in the woods then they're not supposed to be? Yeah. Okay, I'm at Petersfield in Westmount, and I saw these two gentlemen. They're gone in the woods. They have backpacks. They have these poles, like the trekking poles, I believe they're called.
I feel like we're smuggling contraband into Canada.
The one guy, he's tall, probably about 6'2". He's wearing like some bluish gray pants, navy blue long sleeve. It's just ridiculous. Like, clearly they're not supposed to be in there. Like, yeah, no, you should totally get that rain. Any vehicles or anything, do you know? I don't know. I like saw them walking in there, and they had like backpacks and stuff. So yeah. So okay, I'll send the officers out here shortly. Thanks for calling. All right, thank you.
Cape Breton Regional Police, just arrived.
They apparently haven't banned bird houses here. Like, are they a burn hazard? Oh wait, we have an update. Yes. Jeff.
The cop just left.
He just left. The cop just left?
Yeah, they left. This is how much they care about our woods, James.
This is how. So they've abandoned mission?
Yeah.
So they call the cops come, and apparently the cops walked in a little bit, kind of gave up, and left 10 minutes later. So we were expecting to get fined $25,000. There has been no fine, but there are some Department of Natural Resources people we're going to keep.
That's all I'll show of that, but it's just the whole idea that they're trying to impose a ban simply for hiking. Isn't that silly? But it's all part of the grander scheme of the UN Agenda 2030 and how they're trying to essentially force you to own nothing and be happy. And with that, guys, I'm closing out. Terry's just put on a pot of chili, and the biker crowd's about to come in, so I'm going to skedaddle. But guys, thanks for tuning in. And as always, you'll see me again tomorrow on the Feast Me show with Manly Mark at 9 a.m. And Feast Me himself will be on tonight at 9 p.m. for Night Night with Fee. So thank you guys, and God bless, and I'll see you.